The Denver Broncos are out here crushing dreams across the NFL, and it doesn't look like that's slowing down anytime soon. This team's gone from being the punchline of the league to the squad that had everyone at the ownership meetings buzzing. Seriously, people couldn't stop talking about them. Let's break this down because there's a lot to unpack here. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. It seems the Broncos might be cooking up for the NFL Draft. We're going to dig into that, plus a whole lot more in this video. Now, this next part stings a bit if you're a Kyle Shanahan fan like me. I've always rated Shanahan high. Guy's a genius. But right now, he's all over Twitter and the internet, and not for good reasons. He's looking rough, old, tired, sad, you name it. And a big chunk of that? Yeah, it's tied to what the Broncos pulled off against his 49ers. They snagged Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga in free agency, even after Shanahan and John Lynch flew out for a last-second plea to keep Greenlaw in San Francisco. But it didn't work. You can hear it in Shanahan's voice. He's just down about it. The cameras caught him looking absolutely defeated, and it was right when he was talking about losing those 2 free agents to Denver. He even said it out loud. This is one of the hardest hits he's taken in his career. Not just because Greenlaw and Hufanga are studs on the field, 2 top-tier players, but because they're good guys, too. Some of the best people he's ever coached in all his years in the NFL. So yeah, this has to feel like a massive win for the Broncos. You can just see it. Shanahan's face says it all. Total dejection. I'm not here to rub it in his face, though. Shanahan's a guy I respect. Him and John Lynch out there in San Francisco, it's like Denver West, right? Especially with Christian McCaffrey being a Denver kid. But man, what a move by the Broncos. Snagging those 2 players and leaving a head coach like Shanahan feeling this low? That's a big-time flex for Denver, no question. Now, moving to another topic, if you ask the Seattle Seahawks about losing Geno Smith to the Raiders, they're probably grinning like it's Christmas. Same deal with Pete Carroll when Russell Wilson went to the Broncos. Guy couldn't stop smiling. That's the proof right there, that's the receipt. Denver got 2 legit players in Greenlaw and Hufanga. Teams don't just shrug that off. I'd bet you'd see the same thing with the Jaguars if their old staff was still around. If you could have asked them straight up about losing Evan Engram, a former captain, they'd have that same crushed look Shanahan's got. That's the kind of sign that tells you the Broncos are pulling off something special here, really special. And then there's this awesome piece from Sports Illustrated. Caught my eye big time. They talked to Sean McDermott and Andy Reid about Bo Nix, and McDermott straight up said the kid's destined for greatness. Think about that game we broke down live. Nix rolling into Buffalo as a rookie. That's a tough spot, man. Bills fans are dying for a Super Bowl, that crowd's insane, and it's his first playoff game ever. But Nix? He hung tough and balled out. McDermott even said it. This guy's got it. We played a solid game and they still kept it tight in that first half. No run game, no tight end, and a defense that couldn't stop our rush. That's wild. Andy Reid's probably nodding along too. It feels like we're just seeing the start of what this Broncos squad can do. On top of that, you've got Andy Reid chiming in at the NFL owners meeting. Guy didn't hold back, called Bo Nix a great athlete, said he's got a big future ahead, and flat out labeled him a heck of a player. That's Andy Reid talking, folks. So now you've got all these coaches stepping up, singing the same tune. Rewind to when the Broncos drafted Nix. People across the NFL were cracking up, calling it a reach. 3rd-round talent at best, they said. He's just going to be a check-down king. Well, guess what? Last year, he was the 2nd best deep ball thrower in the league, and that's with no tight end. A bunch of rookie receivers, and Cortland Sutton holding it down. The ceiling for this guy? Sky high. Denver's got something cooking, no doubt about it. Now onto the next big thing I hinted at earlier, Kaleb Johnson. This dude rolls up for a top 30 visit with the Broncos and gets so fired up about it, he posts a picture from their training facility. Kaleb Johnson's a name to know, serious talent, tons of upside. I'm all about this move. Cameron Parker over on Twitter nailed it when he said, look, Caleb's numbers might not pop like an Ashton Jeanty or an American Hampton, but here's the deal, that Iowa offense, it was all him. Big Ten's no joke, stacked with tough rushing defenses, and Iowa had 0 passing game to lean on. Quick, name an Iowa receiver or their quarterback. Exactly, you can't. Nobody can. And still, this guy was putting up monster stats, shining in one of the best conferences out there. A conference that's been winning national titles lately. That's a game wrecker right there, plain and simple. Here's what's sticking out to me. Kaleb Johnson coming in for this visit, and he's so pumped about it, he's tweeting out, hey, I'm with the Broncos. That's a big clue. Might mean the Broncos aren't locked in on grabbing a running back in the first round. Something to chew on there. Then I caught this tweet from Rain's Design. It's basically begging the Raiders not to take Ashton Jeanty at 6th overall. And it got me thinking. Check the last 10 top-rated running backs heading into the NFL Draft. Some of the best we've seen in our lifetime. What's the pattern? Not a single one still with the team that picked them. Saquon Barkley? He's with the Eagles now. Ezekiel Elliott? Bounced all over the place. Leonard Fournette? Same deal. Different squad. Only guy still around is Bijan Robinson, and that's probably just because he's locked into that rookie deal. My bet? He's not sticking in Atlanta long-term either. Plus, he's been kind of a letdown so far. Point is, this running back class is loaded with talent. That's why I'm thinking the Broncos might skip one in the first round, unless by some miracle Ashton Jeanty slides down to them. Bringing in a guy like Kaleb Johnson feels smart to me. Here's why. The Broncos should just grab the best player on the board in that first round, no matter the position. Don't draft for need early, huge mistake. Get the top talent still sitting there. There's enough depth at running back that one of these dudes will be around later, and Sean Payton's got a knack for finding his guy, the one he's all in on. Now, speaking of that best player available, the Broncos might be in a sweet spot. Word came out yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts, sitting at pick 12 or maybe 14, they're not going tight end anymore. They're leaning offensive lineman instead. Good news for Denver because their O-line's already solid. They don't need one. What that means? A higher-end talent at another position could drop right into their lap. Man, some wild stuff came up today on Up and Adams. They had a draft reporter on, a guy who's plugged in and has a track record of nailing scoops. His big hot take? He's hearing more and more from teams around the NFL that Jaxson Dart could crash the top 10. And I'm sitting here like, yes, that's what I've been saying. If that happens, the Broncos are in prime position. Picture this. 3 quarterbacks go early, maybe a couple offensive linemen, some spots where teams ahead of us are like, we're set for years. That's gold. It boosts the odds of a stud like Ashton Jeanty sliding right to Denver. Love that setup. Speaking of cool news, Troy Franklin's switching back to number 11. You know, that Oregon number where he and Bo Nix were lighting it up like a Star Wars battle. Big-time production back in the day. So if you grabbed a number 16 Franklin jersey, might be time to swap it out. Whoever rocks 16 next year will probably still be solid, though. Plenty of talent to go around. And then there's this gem from the Pat McAfee show. Trouble brewing with the Bengals. That's huge for the Broncos. Cincinnati's an AFC team we're scrapping with. Not just because we play them this year, but they're in that playoff mix too. The AFC West is a beast, so making the postseason's going to be a grind. Any chaos with a contender like the Bengals? That's a win for us. Word is Trey Hendrickson's fed up. Sounds like the front office isn't talking to him, and he's not happy. Bengals have been pouring cash into their offense, and it's ticking off guys on the other side of the ball. Perfect timing, too. They're coming to Denver next season for a rematch after that overtime loss last year. Bring it on. So, what's the Broncos' game plan here? George Paton's out there saying, oh, we'll grab a running back in this draft. 2nd through 6th round, tons of great options. But is that for real, or is it a head fake? Are they secretly eyeing a first-round running back? I'm curious what you all think. Was Payton just throwing smoke, or are they really waiting to snag someone later? Drop your takes. I want to hear how you see this playing out. Either way, Broncos country, this draft's got me fired up. We're sitting pretty with a couple picks locked in already. Let's keep it rolling.